Right, so we're going on another deep dive, and this time you picked out a real classic, The Frog King, or Iron Henry.
It's a good one.
Yeah, and we're going straight to the source with this one.
Oh, yeah. Gotta go with the original Grimm version.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So just to set the scene for anyone who maybe hasn't heard this one in a while.
Right.
It all starts with this king, living the good life. Daughter's beautiful enough to make the son jealous. Really sets the bar high right from the start.
It does make you wonder what the brothers Grimm were getting at with that. Like, were they making a statement about beauty and its power?
I think so, right? And then we get to our main character.
The youngest princess.
Yeah, her. And she's stunning, like seriously beautiful. And she spends her days in this peaceful little spot by the well in the forest, just playing with her golden ball.
It's such a vivid image, isn't it? Like that golden ball. It reminds me of what you're saying about those times when you just felt pure joy and freedom.
Totally. It's like that golden ball represents something precious, something we all kind of search for, maybe innocence. Or maybe it's that feeling of being carefree like a child. But then, oh no, the ball slips from her hand and he goes plunging down into this well.
And not just any well either. This one's described as so deep that one could not see the bottom. Makes you think about those moments in life where you're facing the unknown right.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
It's like looking into that well and wondering what's down there, what's lurking in the darkness. And for the princess, it's straight up despair. But then this voice calls out. And it's not some charming prince or anything. It's a frog.
And not just any frog either. This one's got a, what do they say, thick, ugly head.
Yeah, like the brothers Grimm wanted to make sure we understood he was not winning any beauty contests.
I know. It's like they're putting this idealized beauty of the princess right up against this frog's ugliness, making us confront those snap judgments we make based on looks. It's like, what was that situation you were describing?
With person or situation from listener source.
Yeah. Yeah, where you thought one way about them, but once you got to know them.
Yeah, you realize you were totally wrong.
Yeah, totally. So often, what we find repulsive can actually turn out to be something completely different. But the princess, well, she's not having any of it. She just wants her ball back. And the frog, well, he sees his chance.
Classic fairy tale move, right?
Totally. It reminds us that even when it looks like someone's got nothing, they can still have some kind of power. Like, remember that project you mentioned you're a little unsure about?
Yeah.
Maybe a little scary?
Definitely a bit daunting, yeah.
But you never know. There might be some unexpected opportunity hidden in there. Just like the frog.
Right. So what does our froggy friend want in exchange for rescuing the golden ball?
Well, let's just say his demands are a little unconventional. He wants to be her companion, eat from her golden plate, drink from her cup, and, oh yeah, sleep in her bed.
Oh no, he did not just say that. This frog's got some nerve. I mean, I know she lost her ball, but that's taking things a bit far. Don't you think?
Well, it's funny how the story makes us automatically side with the beautiful princess, right? But are we so quick to dismiss the frog's needs just because he's not exactly Prince Charming? What if there's more to him than we realize?
You're right. It's like that saying, don't judge a book by its cover. Maybe we're missing something here. But anyway, the princess, she's desperate. So she promises him anything to get her ball back.
Classic mistake.
Right. But as soon as he gets that ball for her, she grabs it and runs back to the castle, leaving the frog behind.
She's quick to forget her promise, isn't she? It's like sometimes when we're under pressure, we make these promises without really thinking about what they mean.
Yeah, it happens to the best of us. I've definitely been there. But in fairy tales, promises have a way of coming back to haunt you, right?
Oh, yeah, big time.
Yeah.
And that's what happens here. The king, the symbol of wisdom and all that, he steps in and makes it very clear. A promise is a promise, even if it's to a frog. He actually says, what you have promised that you must perform.
Wow. No getting out of it then. So what happens next? Does the frog just accept his fate and hop back to his swamp?
Oh, no, not quite. The next day, the princess is having dinner with the king and the whole court. And guess who decides to show up?
Our little amphibian friend. Benny wants a place at the royal table.
Even better than that, we hear this plish, plash, pletch, pladge coming up the marble staircase. And everyone's wondering what in the world is going on. But the princess, she knows exactly who it is, and she's terrified.
I can only imagine. That would be freaky. A slimy frog demanding entry into the castle. You'd be trapped. It's like those dreams where you try to run, but you're stuck in mud.
But maybe this is where the real transformation starts to happen. Not just for the frog, but for the princess.
Yeah.
She's being forced to confront her own prejudices and that disgust she feels for something she finds repulsive. Like when you were talking about working with person or situation from listener source and how it challenged your way of thinking.
Yeah, for sure. Sometimes the toughest situations force us to grow. So does the king send the frog packing. I mean, he's the king. He can do whatever he wants, right?
You'd think so. But the king, he's all about sticking to your word. He tells his daughter, you must perform what you have promised. It's a lesson in keeping your word no matter what.
Wow, even the king's bound by this rule.
Yeah.
So the princess opens the door. What happens next?
Well, the frog hops right in bold as brass and starts making his demands. He wants to be lifted onto her chair. He wants to eat from her golden plate. And you guessed it, he wants to be carried up to her room and tucked into her bed.
He is pushing his luck. I mean, come on. The princess must be horrified. But the story really shows us what's going on inside her. She's disgusted, but she's also stuck because of her promise and what her father said. It's that classic dilemma. What do you do when you're torn between what you feel and what you're supposed to do?
Yeah, it's tough. There's no easy answer. And you've got to remember, back then, disobeying the king was like a huge deal.
Oh yeah, that adds a whole other layer of pressure to it. The princess is stuck between a rock and a hard place, or maybe a rock and a slimy frog. So what happens? Does she lose it?
Well, she tries to keep it together, but the frog just keeps pushing it, you know? Like demanding to be put in her bed. And finally, the princess just snaps. She throws him against the wall.
Oh, man. Talk about a froggy finale.
Yeah.
That's rough. But I guess it makes sense. It's like all that frustration and anger boils over. You know, like when you were talking about there's times when it's hard to set boundaries.
Exactly. Sometimes you just reach a breaking point. But here's the thing. The princess's anger, it actually triggers a transformation. It's where the story takes this really magical turn.
Because instead of finding a frog pancake on the wall, she finds a prince. Right? What a twist. It's like all that ugliness, all that stuff that grossed her out. It was just hiding the true beauty underneath.
It really makes you think, doesn't it? Like maybe the Brothers Grimm were trying to tell us to look beyond the surface. Are we too focused on what's on the outside that we miss the inner beauty?
Yeah, and it makes you wonder what transformation really means. Is it just about looks? Or is it something deeper?
I think it's both. The prince stuck in that frog body, it's like he represents those parts of ourselves that we try to hide away, you know? The stuff we don't like about ourselves, the vulnerabilities.
Oh, yeah, totally. It's like we all have these inner frogs just waiting for someone to see past all that and recognize our true potential.
And what's crazy is that it's the princess's anger, her losing her temper, that breaks the curse. It's like sometimes even our not-so-great moments can lead to something amazing.
So true. But we can't forget about Iron Henry. He was so loyal to the prince that his heart was literally bound with iron bands because he was so sad about what happened.
I know, right? Iron Henry's the best. His loyalty is so touching. It's like that part of us that never gives up on the people we care about no matter what. And when the prince turns back, those iron bands break. It's like all that sadness and grief just lifts away.
Powerful imagery. And then the prince explains everything. He tells her how a wicked witch cursed him, and only the princess could break the spell.
It adds a whole new layer to the story, doesn't it? Like sometimes we need other people to help us see our own potential. We can't always do it alone. And it's often the people we least expect who make the biggest difference.
I've definitely been there, where someone saw something in me that I didn't even see myself.
Yeah.
Okay, so the curse is broken. The prince is back to being handsome. I'm guessing happily ever after time.
Not so fast. Remember those iron bands that flew off Iron Henry's heart? Well, they didn't just vanish. They actually went straight for the witch and zapped her dead.
Whoa. Talk about instant karma. It's like the story is saying that true love and loyalty can defeat anything. But it also makes you think about revenge. Does it really solve anything? Or does it just cause more problems?
It's a good question, and I don't think there's an easy answer. The Brothers Grimm leave it up to us to decide. What do you think?
Yeah, it's definitely something to think about. But even with all the action and drama, the story still has these beautiful moments of tenderness, like when the prince and princess are finally together and it talks about him having beautiful, friendly eyes.
I love that detail. It's like, it's not just about the outside changing. It's about this inner transformation, too. You know, a kind of softening and peace, like what you were describing in your journal about how you felt after listener's source experience.
It's amazing how these fairy tales can be so deep. And it's not just about one person changing. The story ends with the prince and princess riding off to his kingdom, leaving all the old stuff behind and starting fresh together.
It's like a reminder that change is a journey, right? And we're not alone on that journey. We have people who help us along the way.
So the Frog King, it's more than just a fairy tale. It's like a guide to growing and changing both on our own and in our relationships.
Yeah, it really makes you think. It's like these fairy tales, they entertain us, but they also hold up a mirror to our own lives. They give us these timeless insights into what it means to be human, you know?
Totally. And with the Frog King, it's more than just finding a prince or breaking a curse. It's about realizing that we can change and our relationships can change too.
Right. Remember that golden ball we talked about? It wasn't just a toy.
Yeah, you said it might symbolize like those pure joy and freedom moments, the kind of carefree feeling you get when you're a kid.
Yeah, but what if it's also about believing in the impossible? Like that dream you mentioned about,
Oh, about listener's dream or aspiration from sources?
Yeah, that one.
Yeah.
The one that seems kind of impossible.
Yeah, it does seem that way.
It's like the frog, you know. He's not your typical hero. But he helps the princess get back something she thought was lost forever. Not just the ball, but that part of herself.
I never thought about it like that. It's pretty cool.
And that's the real magic of this story. Even when we feel stuck or disappointed or like we're drowning in responsibility, there's always hope for something better.
It's like a little reminder that even when things are tough, something beautiful can still come out of it.
Exactly. And it might come from the most unexpected place, like a chance meeting or taking a risk, or even a talking frog.
Or a talking frog. But the Frog King also makes us think about how we all play a part in each other's transformations.
Like how the princess's anger actually set the prince free?
Yeah, it's kind of crazy how that worked.
It is. It shows us that even when we mess up or do something we regret, it can still have a positive effect. Like when you were talking about setting boundaries, even though it was hard, and how it actually made your relationship stronger.
It's true.
Yeah.
Sometimes you got to do the hard thing. So it's like the story is saying that we can all be change makers, even when we're not perfect.
And that's a big deal, especially in a world that's obsessed with being perfect. The Frog King tells us to accept our imperfections, to find the beauty in the unexpected, and to believe in the power of love and kindness, and maybe even a little bit of froggy magic.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, what's the one thing you really want our listeners to take away from the Frog King?
Don't be afraid to step into the unknown, you know? Question what you think you know, and look for the hidden potential in things that you might not like at first. Because sometimes what seems repulsive can turn into something amazing. And you never know what treasures you might find in the darkest depths.
Well said. And maybe we all have a little bit of Iron Henry in us. That unwavering loyalty and that belief that love can change everything.
And that's what's so great about these deep dives. We uncover these hidden gems of wisdom in the stories we think we know.
So to everyone listening out there, remember the lessons of the Frog King. Keep your promises, face your fears, be open to the unexpected, and never forget that transformation is always possible. You never know what magic might be waiting for you.